Let's punch it.
This is Geek Revolution Radio.
A glass case of emotion.
If you're good at something, never do it for free.
They're here. Why, you scruffy-looking nerf herder.
You had me at hello.
Well, then you are lost.
I call it aggressive negotiations.
Use the Force.
May the Force be with us.
Sabotage!
Hello and welcome to a new edition of Geek Revolution Radio. I'm your host, Ryan Bennett. On this week's show, we've got a lot to look forward to. We're going to talk about some 3DS love action. I've got some life news. We've got Transformers talk, Pacific Rim, Star Wars, of course. And then in the second half of the show, we're going to talk Emmys. This week, joining on my show is old co-host of Geek Revolution Radio, author Cindy C. Bennett is here.
Hey, it's good to be back.
Also, my mother, for those of you that don't know by now. If you listen to episodes like 1 through over 100, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
around that. This is episode 121 of Geek Revolution Radio. It doesn't feel like we've done 121 of these things, but we've actually done much more of them because there's all the Walking Dead reviews and Breaking Bads and this and that. But it's been a lot of fun. I hope you guys are all doing well out there. You can hit us up on Facebook, facebook.com/Geek Revolution Radio, if you've got something you'd like to share with us or cover on the show or whatever. So to start off this week's show, I don't really get a lot of chances to talk about video games that often because I usually am too busy to play video games. But I've recently discovered a Nintendo 3DS. I got one for, I don't know, my birthday or Christmas or something a year. Well, it probably hasn't been quite a year now. But the handheld video game, as far as I'm considered, is like the way to play now for me.
The screens are so much bigger now, and they're 3D, and they're, you can play on the two different screens. You can play with other people. Yeah,
I got the 3DS XL. I mean, it's got a huge screen on it, and the cool thing about it is they took like a lot of the old Nintendo 64 games that I love, like Super Mario 64 and stuff like that, and they put them on the 3DS. So it's like those games I used to play hours when I was a teenager. Now I can play just on my way to work or school or when I get some downtime or at night while I'm laying in bed or whatever. And
I saw a thing on the internet the other day that they were bringing back the original Donkey Kong game with the original graphics and everything.
Oh, really? 3DS. Like the one where you like go up the little ladders and stuff?
Yes, and I was just like, yeah.
They just released, they had the Donkey Kong Country Returns on the Wii.
Uh-huh.
They just released it a little while ago on the 3DS too.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
I mean, there's that. They did a Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past was like my favorite Super Nintendo game ever, and they made a sequel for that game on 3DS.
Wow.
Which was basically the exact same game, again, just with like a couple added functionalities. But it was a blast to play through it again. It was like kind of like reliving your childhood a little bit because I'm like, man, I love all these games, and looking at I kind of thought that Nintendo was on their way out because it just nobody has bought a Wii U and nobody cares about that anymore. But I can't help but wonder that if the 3DS is kind of what they're hanging on to, because there's a lot of people that have 3DSs, as it turns out.
And I think it's smart of them to start bringing back some of the classic games, because I'm old school and those are the games I like. And so like I haven't had any specific reason to want to buy a 3DS. But if they start bringing back those games, I'll be getting me a 3DS.
The first reason that I bought one was because I heard that they were going to have the first three-dimensional Pokemon game come out.
Oh, yeah.
Which was X and Y. And so I bought it for that mostly. And also the Zelda game that I was just talking about. But the Pokemon was a lot of fun. Like it was like kind of going back to my childhood. And then not too long after I beat that, I realized I could download a ROM on my Android phone, and also like a Game Boy emulator.
Oh, really?
And I played like the old school Pokemon Yellow.
Oh, really?
Which was like Red, Yellow, and Blue were like the first three that came out.
On your phone?
I played Yellow like all the way through on my phone. It was a lot of fun.
Funny.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that a little bit because I don't think I've talked about it, and it seems like once I got one, like maybe it's just one of those things where it's like, oh, I noticed after I got one that everyone had one, but it feels like a lot of people have been buying them recently. So
yeah. Well, and I think like my girls both have one, your sisters both have one, and they play them all the time, and they play together, and they're not even near each other because they're wireless, and so you can hook up and play games with your friends or play off of each other.
That's a really cool functionality I like about the 3DS is the like Wi-Fi and online connectivity.
Yeah.
And it feels like they're so close to having like an open world MMO version of Pokemon where you go on there and actually like go on the quests in the game with your friends. That to me would be like the perfect game. That would be a lot of fun. Like, cause even in like the Zelda game, there was, if you like, they have this street walk thing. I can't remember what it's called, but if you pass somebody like while it's in your pocket that has that game or is playing that game, your 3DSs will talk to each other and they'll share like your playing profile. And then when you go back into your game, you'll be able to battle like a Nega version of that person's character, in the game. So it's like, it's really fun. Like you're like, oh yeah, you passed this person at some point. Now you can battle their character and earn some extra rubies or whatever.
That's so cool.
it's pretty cool. But you know, and it's funny because you see like the only other people I know that's really in the handheld game is PlayStation, but they've never really been able to like make a thing out of their PlayStation Vita or any of that kind of stuff.
And I think, you know, when I see people with handheld games, I see a lot more because you can recognize the difference. They look very different, and like mostly what I've seen is the 3DS.
Yeah. Well, and you're talking, these are the guys like, this is basically just a glorified Game Boy.
Yeah.
This is, you know, they were one of the, I don't know what came first, if it was the Game Gear that Sega did. I don't know if that was before the Game Boy or not, but it seems to me like the Game Boy came first because I don't think the Game Gear ever had like a green screen like the first Game Boy did. But
well, first came those little handheld electronic games. I found one at my house the other day, the little basketball where you
had to wait till he gets in there.
Red dot, and you have to try to get him up to the top to
from
make
like
a basket.
The 80s.
I found it in my basement the other day, and Randy, Ryan's brother, was like, "Do you really want this?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's classic.
It's a classic. It's probably worth a lot of money now because they all work, I bet."
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That was your version of a Game Boy.
That was our...
It was fun for exactly 7 minutes.
Exactly.
And nobody was caught dead with one of them in their pocket.
And the batteries died really fast, too.
Yeah. So let's see. We're post 4th of July here, kind of middle of July, and I figured I'd take a chance to talk a little bit about some of the things that are going on in my life. I recently, last October, I guess it was.
So not so recently.
I went to a tech career fair up at the University of Utah where I go to school, and got an interview with a small little company called General Motors, and they were looking for some.
It's a minor company. You might not have heard of it.
Maybe you've heard of it. I don't know. They're just like they're a little American company, you know. But anyway. They were looking for people in my discipline, which is information systems. That's in the business department, to kind of come on to General Motors as business analytics and software developers and stuff like that. So I had never given any thought to working for General Motors, like at all. The thought had never crossed my mind. We've been a Ford family. Like I love Ford when it comes to actual car makers, but I never had thought like, oh, General Motors, a tech company.
Yeah.
You know, but apparently I went to the interview just basically to practice my interviewing skills, because I was like, well, at least I'll get that out of it. I'll get a company, I'll get an interview with a huge company like that. And I didn't even know what the pay range was. And when they told me what the pay range was, I was like, whoa, that's a lot more money than I ever thought I'd be making out of college. That's for sure.
Yeah.
It's more money than I've ever made in like 2 years of my life. But, so the interview went well, and they asked me back for another interview, and I went home and talked to Sammy, my wife, and I was like, this might actually turn into something. And she's like, well, where's the job at? I'm like, well, it's not here in Salt Lake City. They were hiring jobs for Phoenix, Austin, and Atlanta at the time. And when I went back for the second job interview, I mean, they kind of cut right to the chase. It wasn't even much of an interview. They just said, we really would like for you to come and work for us, and we'd like to make you a job offer, or, And I was like, well, you can feel free to make me a job offer. I can always decline, I guess, you know. And then, like I said, they made me an offer I couldn't refuse.
With a horse head in his bed and everything.
Yeah, and they originally wanted me to go to Phoenix, and I was like, I don't know if that's kind of going from like one of the coldest well, not one of the coldest places, but a place that snows a ton in the winter, to somewhere where like it doesn't even get below 50 degrees in the winter.
I know.
Might be a little bit of
120 in the summer.
Yeah, it might be a little bit of a shell shock, but I had always heard good things about Austin, and we got friends that live in Houston, and I've always really liked Texas. So I counter offered with them like, oh, I want $10,000 or $5,000 more dollars, and I want to be in Austin. And they were like, I just thought like they would be like, no way, but they were like, boom, done.
Wow.
I was like, oh.
I should have asked for more.
Yeah, apparently I should have asked for more money, even though this is like more money than I would even know what to do with. So that happened last October, and I even told him, I'm like, I won't this was last October, and I'm like, I will have to take classes until the end of July 2014, like next year, right? And they're like, yeah, it's fine. We'll keep the job on the table. It's your job. You signed an offer of employment. And when you're able to come out here, we'll get all the onboarding and pre-employment and all that kind of stuff going. And that brings us to nowish.
And ask if Ryan's mom's happy that he's leaving.
She's not happy. I'm going to be moving here in just a couple of weeks out to Austin, which is ironically where, for those of you that have been listening to the show for a while, is where Ben Fox lives. That used to be and will be on the show. Yeah, he lives in Austin. I did not know that. And Will's out in Atlanta, so everyone's kind of dispersed after college. But I'm making the best of my education. So I'm gonna go be a software developer for General Motors for at least a little while.
It's such a great opportunity for you guys.
Yeah, it'll be, the way that I look at it is, even if I don't work there forever, it'll be like one of those companies where that's the type of work I want to be in. And when they see a company of that magnitude on my resume, it'll open a lot of other doors at a lot of other companies. They share a parking lot in Austin with both Dell and HP. Yeah. Which Dell, I didn't know this, but Dell is actually was created in Austin.
Oh, I didn't know.
Dell, yeah, like Dell computers are from Austin. They have a ton of places down there that they do all kinds of stuff. So maybe I'll get. I want to go work for HP eventually, just because that seems like a really cool company.
And GM, like, when I tell people that you got a job with GM, they're like, doing what? They
like
just thought
selling cars?
Selling cars? Yes, he went to school for all these years to sell cars. No, no. And when I tell them it's for computer stuff or software development, they're always like, at GM.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of stuff over there. I mean, a lot of you guys kind of know what happened with the fallout of the economy and stuff like that, and they were kind of one of the big companies that got bailed out from the recession. What was the $7 trillion or whatever it was? They got a huge chunk of that money at General Motors, and they've kind of taken it and invested it into America's youth. They actually hired 12,000 people across the United States that are in my discipline or similar to my discipline, that are all people that are under the age of 30. So that's a really cool thing for my generation, because there's plenty of, Will Hatton is one of them that used to do the show, that he's been out of college for a few months now and cannot find a job anywhere.
Really?
So it's not as easy as they led on when they asked us to come to their university. But I think it's going to be a really good opportunity. I plan on still doing the show when we get out there. As a matter of fact, after we get out there, it'll probably one of those things where I'll probably do it more often than I do it now, because it'll give me a chance to talk to all these people that I don't see on a regular basis.
So you won't be in school anymore, so you'll have a little more time.
I won't have to balance school and everything work and everything that's going. I mean, we're having a child soon, but that I think that'll be more fun than anything.
Yeah,
so
of course.
And I got to talk on the phone with my mom eventually, and this is usually what we talk about when we talk on the phone. So
did you say I've got to talk to my I guess have to talk to my mom?
I guess I have to. I don't want to get myself kicked out of a will or anything like that. So yeah, we'll probably
this is recorded.
Yeah. Well, I also edited the show, so
that's true. You can edit that right out.
That can disappear really quickly. So that's kind of what's going on in my life. It's also one of the reasons why I didn't do this show for a long time, on top of being super busy, is I kind of had to I don't know. I worked in radio for a while, and I thought, well, maybe this is a show that could end up on the air. But then I saw the miserable existences that people in radio live, because they don't know, like, not even just day to day, but hour to hour, if they're going to have a job the next hour, or if someone's going to bust in the doors and go, you're off the air because your ratings dipped a little bit or whatever. It was a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong. Working in radio was a lot of fun, but I like the way that this show is now, where it gives me complete freedom to talk about or complain about whatever I want. Yeah. I can do it as often or as little as I want, and then I got all you great people out there that just listen to the show and interact with us kind of more as friends than kind of like a morning radio. I mean, this is Geek Revolution Radio in the morning. What's up, traffic?
Yeah, we need to get
It's
a
about
helicopter.
7:30.
We need to get a helicopter for
I should
live
see if
traffic
like
reports.
I've got some friends in radio still. I should see if they'll like do some drops for us that are like that, because those are I always get a good kick out of them. And all the radio guys now can all do like classic 70s and 80s radio jock guy like impressions.
You need someone that can do like a good Casey Kasem.
Yeah. Well, anybody can do a good Casey Kasem now, right? Oh.
Oh, boo.
I didn't even know who he was till he died. So.
Oh, that's sad, because he was, I would venture to say, the biggest name in radio for years.
Really? Yeah, I heard that. I read a lot about him after he died, but I was like, wow, I'd never even heard of this guy.
Yeah.
I didn't hear about him until he disappeared. So.
Yeah, that's too bad.
But
I guess that's what happens to all of us, is eventually we get forgotten.
I guess so, yeah. So you were telling me about a movie that you saw recently.
Yeah, I saw this great movie called Snowpiercer. I had never even heard of it, and then I read about it in a magazine. And it stars Chris Evans,
really?
Captain America himself.
Okay.
But it's made by a Korean guy, the writer and director.
I think I heard about this movie now that you're talking about it.
And
I haven't seen
he
it.
co-wrote it with an American guy. It's based on a French comic.
Really?
Yeah.
Like a comic book?
A comic book.
Oh.
A comic book series.
I thought like maybe it's like a French Louis C.K. It's based on a French comic. I was like, oh, okay.
Yes, there you go. That's what it's based on. Comic books. I thought in this crowd I didn't have to clarify.
I don't know what that's the first thing I thought of though.
That's funny. Honestly, I don't know any French comics, just so you know. So
I don't either. I don't think there are any. They don't find anything funny over there.
Yeah. But it's actually a really cool premise. What it is it kind of starts like in our time now, where everybody's worried about global warming. And so as a result, they create what they think is a fix, and their fix creates an ice age.
Oh.
And meantime...
Isn't that Al Gore's working on that?
I think so. It's probably Al Gore's
like
thing.
in real life.
And
Snow
so
cones for everybody.
And so the main guy of the comics and of the movie, although you don't see him clear to the end, is this guy that just grew up fascinated by trains, and his whole idea all his life was to create a train that would go around the entire world, and they'd build tracks between
the oceans,
continents and things. Yeah. And so he does. And so then by the time this ice age happens, the only people who survive are the people who are on this train, and it's 1,001 trains long in the comic books, but in the movie
1,001 train cars. Holy crap!
But in the movie they only made it like 300 train cars long. But because they didn't have time. Because what it's about is about the people at the front are all the rich people, the people at the back are the poor people. It has a class system.
So it's like a commentary on the class system.
Yeah, and the people at the back, which is Chris Evans, they're upset that why do they have to be the poor? Like, why is there a class system when they're all equal? And this train is a self-sustained train. They grow plants, they grow fish, they grow chickens, they grow all that kind of stuff. It's solar powered. They have like stuff that comes out the front to melt the ice off the tracks, because that's what a lot of people were like, wouldn't the tracks be covered with ice? That's why it's Snowpiercer.
It's still a strange premise that like...
It is a strange premise,
the apocalypse has come with an ice age. Let's build a train around the world.
Let's build a train.
That'll fix it.
Yeah.
We can survive on a train.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's kind of like a lot of blood and shooting and gore and stuff as they fight their way to the front. But it's more just the character study of the commentary of classes and how fair or not fair they are. And also, you know, like the guy who has the power, like, why does he get the power? Just because he controls the engine? He controls the world, basically. And I don't know. It's just a really cool, not at all what you would expect. There's all people from all different countries in the movie. As a matter of fact, it opened worldwide before it opened in America.
Oh, really?
But the thing that's really weird to me...
Did it open because it was Chris Evans? Or, I mean, I assume when you like lock down somebody like Chris Evans, that's when you get your release, is because he's in the movie, not that you made a strange movie.
It feels very much like an indie movie.
Yeah.
But
I love indie movies.
I love indie movies.
Yeah.
And he's so good in this movie. They said they had a really hard time concealing his muscles, because he's supposed to look kind of sickly and gaunt from living in the back, you know. And so they just had to pile a lot of clothes on him so that you couldn't see all of his...
He's too pretty to be poor.
They had like scruffy beard on him and stuff, and he still looks good. But
yeah.
But it's such a great movie, and I'm so glad that I went to see it. And I had not heard anything about it.
So you saw it in the theater?
Yeah.
Like, this isn't one of those movies that's like on video on demand?
No, it's in the theaters, but at least here in Utah, in the Salt Lake Valley, it's only showing at one theater, and it's a theater that's, you know, shows a lot of indie films and stuff. It's not showing at any of the big, you know, megaplexes, cine.
Well, not yet. That's
theaters.
how Napoleon Dynamite, which kind of they shot it like only about an hour or two north of here.
Yeah.
And in the middle of nowhere. And the first place that like really they started playing it at some of like those weird indie films downtown in Salt Lake, and it kept getting bigger and bigger that the regular theaters started playing it like occasionally.
Yeah.
And then it kept getting bigger until it spread all over the United States and got a huge wide release like that.
Well, I hope this one does, because
this
it
could
is
do
a
that too.
seriously good movie.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, Lexi, my daughter who's 19, she doesn't generally like movies that are either, you know, a lot of action or things like that. But we left the theater and she was like, that's one of the best movies I've ever seen. And she says,
Really?
and like a week later, she's like, I can't stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just one of those movies that gets into your head.
That's
and
why I
just
like
really...
indie movies. I think that, you know, one of the things I'm going to miss about not living in Salt Lake anymore is the Sundance Film Festival.
Right.
Like we've gone the past 2 years. Me and Will went this last February, January, or whenever it was, and we went and saw a couple films a piece. And man, it was like, it's so much fun. Not just the atmosphere up there, but the types of movies they have there are just they're not snoozers, and they're not spoiler alert for later in the show. They're not Transformers 4, for example, where you're like, wow, how is this?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the thing with a film like Snowpiercer is it would be easy to mistake it as just an action film.
Uh-huh.
It's so much
but
more
it's real
than
character
that.
driven, which is
Yeah.
always fun.
And, you know, there's a lot of gore and blood and guts in it.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of people might mistake it for something that it's not and might not give it a chance.
Uh-huh.
If you can deal with that at all, you should definitely go. I mean,
Has it been
so
making a
great.
film festival circuit? Do you know? Like,
I don't know.
usually
because-
films like that get picked up by Sundance or Cannes or, you know, all these different film festivals.
Yeah, I hope it does if it hasn't already, because it's seriously just really, and it's such an amazing movie the way they made it. If you read about how they made it and all of it's like a United Nations movie kind of.
Really?
There's just so
It's like
many
everybody had a
people from all different countries that had different things to do with the making of the movie besides the people that were in the movie, you know. So
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's really
That's
really
cool.
if you guys get a chance, if it's playing in your area at all, really go see it.
And if not, it'll probably, you know, worst case scenario, it'll be on video on demand or Netflix or something soon.
Yeah, and watch it, because
Yeah.
it's just, it is one that sticks with you. I love movies like that stick with you.
Yeah.
That you can't. I don't want them to
Yeah.
stick with you in a bad way where you're just like, that was so ridiculous, like one we're going to talk about later. But,
yeah.
but you know,
That's
if it
how-
sticks with you in a good way.
You know, I like to watch movies that I've never heard of that are kind of indie films. And
Mm-hmm.
I saw recently a movie called The Perks of Being a Wallflower
Yeah.
that has Hermione Granger from Harry Potter in it. And that movie was like,
Also known as Emma Watson.
yeah, it was such like a awesome like coming of age story. And it's one of those movies where it's just like afterwards you're just like, man, that was such a, like, I really
Yeah.
enjoyed that film, you know?
Yeah.
And I wish there was more films out there like it, but there's really only like a handful every year that come out.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's more like that come out, but you never hear about them.
Yeah.
You know, because
I
they're
think
too
they
small.
they get buried by these big blockbusters.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. But speaking of big blockbusters, it's geek news. So we're gonna do some geek news. So Pacific Rim sequel, Pacific Rim 2. I don't know what they're even gonna call it. Got a release. It's gonna be out in 2017. Guillermo del Toro. How do you say his name? Do you pronounce the R?
Guillermo, I think.
Guillermo.
I think it's Guillermo.
G. Del Toro.
I don't think you say the L. I think it's just Guillermo. I don't know.
Guillermo del Toro.
If anyone knows.
I say it different. I think every single time I just said it, I think I said it differently. Of course, the creator of Pacific Rim. That was one of those movies that like instantly became a cult classic. For me, it was like Rock'em Sock'em Robots, the movie, but like a Godzilla version, like Godzilla versus Rock'em Sock'em Robots. It was awesome. I loved watching.
on
yeah, I
steroids.
was like, oh yeah, let's get a bunch of gigantic like humans and robots, and let's just fight a bunch of Godzilla creatures.
Yeah,
amazing. But it did get a release, or not that it got a release, but he actually is kind of putting the plan into motion, because I know there was a lot of people afterwards like, oh, you've got to make a prequel or a sequel or something, and at first he was kind of like, that's never going to happen, you know. But apparently they've greenlit it, as far as I've heard. They have a release date of 2017, I assume, in the summer. And
cool.
They also gave him an animated series. He's going to be doing a little bit of an animated series that's going to be Pacific Rim, which I think is the perfect platform for this movie.
Yeah,
is like an animated series, and I'm stoked for the second movie. I was kind of surprised that it was going to be a sequel, because the kind of the word on the street was, oh, he's going to do a prequel and show like how all this first went down, because in the original Pacific Rim you kind of start in the movie, like it's already been a couple years since the first monster came to Earth.
Yeah.
You know, from under the ocean.
You're sort of dropped into the middle of the story.
Yeah, so I thought it was going to be like, oh, this is how they built the Jaegers and defeated the first creature. But no, he's like, we're going to do a sequel afterwards, and there's obviously going to be some other visitors or something that try and attack Earth, and they build these gigantic Jaeger robots to fight them, which is just so cool. I saw it in IMAX 3D, and it was just like, it was mind-bending. It was so cool.
Yeah.
I was just like, for me, I am the demographic for that movie. And I was like, this is just everything I wanted to be and more. So look forward for that. And speaking of gigantic fighting robots, I saw Transformers 4. Michael Bay tricked me. He gave me a little bit of a glimmer of a hope because I sort of kind of liked the third movie. The first one I liked. The second one was like, wow, that was really racist, and I didn't really care for it. And then I saw the third one, and I was like, it looks like this could get better. And I was like, oh, the fourth one, Mark Wahlberg. I love Mark Wahlberg. And I was like, oh, and Megan Fox isn't like is out of it, and Witwicky is out of it. So like,
well, they just replaced Megan Fox with Mark Wahlberg's daughter
with an underage version. Yeah. So I hated it. I really like. And it was funny because there were so many cheesy, corny lines in the movie, and it was 3 hours long, or like it was more than 2.5 hours long. It was way too long of a movie, and like there were so many cheesy lines in it that throughout the film, you could hear people like laughing, but not laughing at what like Optimus or Mark or any of those people said, but like snickering because it's like, wow, I can't believe that this pile of turd script made it onto this big of a platform. I hated it so much, and like this whole second half of the movie took place in Japan, and I know enough from doing this show about the way box offices kind of work now to go, the reason I knew in the back of my mind the reason why they put half this movie in Japan is because, or in China, sorry, I keep saying Japan, China, is because they know if they do that, then they'll be able to get a release in China, because they China only shows, like, I heard it was like only like 7 or 8 American films a year.
Really?
In China, yeah, like that they allow have a wide release there, like in the full country. And of course, I was like, that's exactly why they did it, because they know that if they bring it there, like 1 billion people will go and see it.
Yeah. And
it's been out for like just a couple of weeks now, and I was just looking on Box Office Mojo, and not only it's shocking to me that in the United States this movie has made $210 million.
I'm shocked
like
too,
it's
because
really surprising to me.
I haven't seen it, but I have not heard one single good thing about it.
Nobody, even like critics destroyed it, which sometimes happens with movies. But even on like Rotten Tomatoes for the audience, like everyone hated this movie.
Well, even on Facebook, like people after the opening weekend, and it was just all over Facebook, and people hated it.
And it made, so I know in the first weekend it made about $100 million, but that means that since then it's made 210 now. So it means since then, like twice that number of people that made that mistake made the mistake again.
They didn't believe everybody else.
Even more surprising to that is that total this is up to $751 million. It's almost in the $1 billion club, because foreign has done $540 million. And as soon as I looked, I was like, I bet you I know exactly where the majority of that is. Sure enough, in China it has made $262 million. It has made more in China than it did in the United States.
Well, go back to that page. Hong Kong had made quite a bit too.
Yeah, it's crazy. They posted 11 million.
11 million.
I mean, but you add up, it has a release in, what do you say, that's probably 50 countries?
Yeah.
Right there. I mean, and you get a couple $1 million in each country. That's how you get to almost $1 billion that it's up to now. And it makes me so mad because, like, they promised us Dinobots in the preview, which I was stoked for. And then the Dinobots were only, like, in the last 15 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
And not only that, but the Dinobots weren't, like, at all what I thought they were going to be or what they were in the cartoon or whatever back in the day. And then on top of that, they put in, like, a mock version of Megatron, but they called him something else that was like completely stupid. I can't remember what they called him, but it was like, this is Megatron but not Megatron, and we're gonna try and trick you because we technically already killed Megatron, so this is Nega Megatron or whatever they called him. I don't know what they called him. This is white version Megatron or version 2.0. And at the end of the movie, like, I was like, okay, obviously the Transformers are gonna win. and the dust is settling, and then of course you get that cut to Megatron in the forest, and he's like, "Oh, those blasted Autobots!" as he runs up into the forest. "I'll get you guys next time." And I'm sitting there in the theater going, "No, that means they're gonna make another one of these. No,
Please be dead.
Dang
Please
it.
be dead.
Somebody get him. I don't want another movie." And I was going into it with good hopes that it was going to be a good movie. Like I was excited to see it. But now I'm scared to death for the Ninja Turtles. If this is made by, it's not technically made by the same guy. Michael Bay directed Transformers, whereas his production company just made Ninja Turtles. But I'm like, production companies still have a lot of say in the script specifically. Yeah. So I'm not so sure. I'm going to go see the Ninja Turtles, of course. So I guess I'm still going to be feeding my dollars into the Michael Bay machine. The Bay machine, or whatever you want to call it. But
it makes me sad that they screwed up Transformers like that, because like you, I really liked the first movie.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it'd be that hard to make a good.
Third one didn't care for. And so when they were basically rebooting, almost it felt like, a whole new story, new characters and everything, I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a chance, but after that first weekend of all that negativity, no desire to see it.
And it just doesn't seem like it'd be that hard to make a good Transformers movie.
You have...
Apparently I should be writing movies. So I should be writing movies, because I think I could... I feel like sometimes I go see movies and I'm like, I could definitely write a better version of that than what I just saw.
Yeah, no kidding.
But I guess, that's probably what happens in Hollywood, especially with movies like this, is I assume from what I've heard and read, and, mostly what some directors and writers have said, is that with these big budget films, they get toyed with and tinkered with by the studios and the executives and the suits and all that so much that it's like by the time it actually gets made into a movie, it's not really it's an echo of the original good script they wrote that got greenlit.
Yeah, because I hear about that a lot, that somebody turned in a script and somebody was like, "Oh, that'll make a great movie," and then by the time it comes to, it's not even anywhere near.
Well, there's only a few directors or writers in Hollywood, your Guillermo del Toro's or Michael Bay, or not Michael Bay. What's the guy that made Reservoir Dogs? The weird guy. Yeah. He makes good movies too, but I think that his movies are like one of those things where he's like, either I'm going to make it my way or not make it at all, and the studio just kind of lets him run with it. But I don't know. So before we head to the break here, me and my mom were talking earlier when we were at dinner, and I got to get to the airing of grievances this week.
The tradition of Festivus begins with the airing of grievances.
I don't know what we're yelling about!
And we're here to tell you all about the word conflict. You guys ready to show conflict?
Loud noises!
I got a lot of problems with you people. Now, you're going to hear about it.
Okay, so Salt Lake Comic Con is coming in September to Salt Lake, obviously. And I'm not going to be there because, like I said, I'm moving to Austin. But I've still been kind of following it to see who's going to be here. They've got some okay guests lined up, I guess. But the one thing I am going to regret, when I saw this, I was like, I want to go, but just so I can tell this guy how I feel about him, is none other than Michael Rosenbaum. For those of you that don't know Michael Rosenbaum, he played Lex Luthor on Smallville. And he was great as Lex Luthor.
He was so good as Lex Luthor.
But then he went off the show. He didn't want to be on the show anymore, which I guess I can understand. But then the show ended up going a lot longer than what I'm sure what he anticipated. And they asked him in the last season to come back and reprise his role as Lex Luthor to kind of close it all out.
Because Lex Luthor is like the ultimate enemy of Superman.
And he would I loved watching the dynamic between him and Clark Kent in Smallville. That was actually one of my favorite parts of Smallville.
Even though you knew he was going to be the bad guy, didn't you just spend your whole time rooting for them to end up friends because they started out that way?
Yeah, absolutely. But good old Michael Rosenbaum, when there's plenty of stuff I read online about this, that when they approached him and tried to get him to come back, that there was nothing they could do or say that would convince him to come back, even for one episode. They tried getting him for the whole season. Then they tried for last 5 episodes. Yeah. Then they tried for just 1 or 2 episodes. Then they tried, just make an appearance on the last finale of this show that basically made your career.
Yeah. The
only thing you've done up to this point in your career. He went off the show, and it's not like he went off the show and did other things. He just kind of went off the show because he wanted to do other things, and he just did nothing.
Yeah, because we looked up his IMDb, and he's done a few things, but there was nothing.
And that's the thing that really makes me mad. Is he couldn't be bothered to come back to finish off something that was way bigger than him. Like that role was not about Michael Rosenbaum. It was about a guy that was Lex Luthor, and if it was somebody else, then it would have been better because that person maybe would have come back. But it was something that was bigger than him, and he didn't care enough about the fans and the people that watched that show for 10 years to even be bothered to reprise his role as Lex Luthor. At least if you're not going to do it for yourself, at least do it for the people that gave you thousands, hundreds of thousands, probably millions of dollars. But he did the show for 6 years.
I think so.
Yeah, probably millions of years or millions of dollars. I would assume that he made over those years, and he just couldn't be bothered. I mean, it drove me absolutely crazy.
Well, and I think he bit himself in the butt a little bit with that because people are angry about it.
And here's what he's done since then: Two-Legged Rat Bastards, never heard of it. Pretend Time, never heard of it. Catch 44, never heard of it. The Daily Show. This is not like Daily Show as in The Daily Show with what's his name?
Jon Stewart.
This is not that show. This is just some show that I've also never heard of. He did a Justice League Doom as a voice of the Flash, which is kind of strange to me that he's also a voice of Flash. Lollipop Chainsaw, I've never heard of that. Hit and Run, I did see him in that, and he was like the weird side role of the crazy ex-boyfriend, and he wasn't even like slightly interesting. He apparently did a TV series called Breaking In that I've also never heard of. Did a handful of episodes.
Looks like it was on for one season.
For a season, yeah. And then he did Back in the Day, which I've also never heard of. So it's like this guy literally left that and did nothing.
Yeah.
And maybe he did nothing by choice. I don't know, but I really would love to go to Comic-Con to meet him and just say, as a fan of that show, and I think I can speak on the behalf of most Smallville fans.
Yeah.
You really ruined the end of that show. I mean, they did well enough ruining the end of that show, but him being in the end of that show, I mean, I kind of assume, I have to think that part of the reason that show ended so horribly is because they had a version of that show ending with Lex Luthor, and then they had to completely cut him out of it and they probably didn't really know how to end it at that point, I would guess.
Yeah, because
it's Superman and Lex Luthor. They're both as famous as each other.
And I've always said that I feel like the 10th season should have been him being Superman because we've spent all the first 9 seasons becoming Superman. He should have been Superman, but I think they felt like they didn't really if they would have brought Lex Luthor back, it could have been then he would have been Superman because it would have been the beginning of their total arch nemesis. But instead they just sort of felt like a bunch of just kind of regular episodes, like any other episode, not a big deal.
So to Michael Rosenbaum, I don't care that you're coming to Salt Lake Comic-Con, and I like that you're still taking money from the geeks, even though you were a real douchebag to us. So that's my airing agreements for this week. When we come back, we're gonna take a break here real quick. We're gonna talk about the Emmys, who got nominated, who didn't, who we think's gonna win. So hang tight. We'll be back. This is Geek Revolution Radio.
Hi, it's Fisher, host of Extreme Genes, America's Family History Show. Are you digging up the dirt on your dead? Want to find out how? Hear the latest on new family history sources and websites with interesting and fun guests and experts. Find out what other people have been learning about their ancestors. From kings to thieves, inventors to farmers. Nothing that's been discovered should surprise us anymore, but it always does. Find out what we mean. Catch our podcasts on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and ExtremeGenes.com. And download our free Extreme Genes podcast app for your iPhone or Android. And remember, as far as everyone knows, we're a nice, normal family.
Hello, everybody. I am Sir Kayak.
And I am Sir Axeman.
And we are hosts of the Knights of the Clown Table podcast
on BoboBroadcasting.com.
Tune in each week to hear us talk about an array of topics such as booze, gambling, cigars, women, sports, and other random observations,
as well as other random violent acts.
You can find our weekly show on iTunes,
Stitcher,
BlackBerry Podcast app,
and directly from our website at BoboBroadcasting.com. That's BOBO Broadcasting.com.
That's right. Knights of the Clown Table podcast on BoboBroadcasting.com.
Check it out.
Tune in, listen, love it,
slap it,
flip it,
and dip it. And back to the tables, my friend.
Let's go, my pal. I'm all in. BoboBroadcasting.com.
Thanks for listening to Geek Revolution Radio. Give us a thumbs up at Facebook.com/Geek Revolution Radio.
All right, welcome back to Geek Revolution Radio. This is your host, Ryan, and we are ready to do a little bit of talk about the Emmys. They just kind of the last week or two released all the nominees, which is always kind of exciting because I'm a huge TV fan. I watch a ton of TV.
Yeah, I sadly do too.
I've seen almost, well, there's a lot of things on here I guess I haven't seen, but I have seen a lot of the stuff that is nominated this year. And there was a lot of things I found really interesting, so I thought that we'd just kind of go down the list and talk about some of the people that got nominated and some of the people that I felt like kind of got snubbed. So let's start off, we're going off abcnews.com because that's the place I could find it where they just gave it to me straight. We'll start with the best comedy series. Some of the honorable mentions in here are Big Bang Theory, which I think has been nominated like pretty much every year for this award since it's been on the air.
I think so.
Louis got nominated, which is I'm really excited for Louis C.K. to see that. That's one show that I haven't quite watched yet, and it's kind of become my rainy day show where I'm waiting for like when I have some downtime or like when I'm ready to start a full series because it's a little bit in now
to just binge watch,
to power through. Yeah, now that Breaking Bad and the Walking Dead I'm obviously caught up on and stuff like that. So there's that. Modern Family is nominated, of course. Orange is the New Black got nominated, which was interesting. That's so interesting
to me because even though I think they consider it a comedy, it seems not like a comedy.
It's gritty. It's really gritty.
Yeah.
Like I think I'm with you on that. Like I think it's meant to be funny, but I don't really think it's all that funny.
And it is funny, but it just feels more dramatic to me than
it's
funny.
Definitely more dramatic. So it'll be cool to see what happens. I think it's great that all these new Netflix shows are getting nominated because it's changing the environment and it's changing it for the better as far as the viewer's perspective goes. The people that watch these shows, it's a good thing because this is giving a chance for shows that are either unfairly or unjustly canceled or would never see the light of day on a regular network. Netflix is saying, no, these are good stories, and we're gonna put some power behind them, and they're cranking out great shows.
And just a little note on that, I was telling Ryan, I was reading an article the other day, and it was talking about some shows that it was talking about how many nominations HBO got, but it said
they got two in this category because they have Veep and Silicon Valley, which we're going to talk about Silicon Valley here in a minute.
Yeah, and even though HBO got more overall, like a higher number of nominations than Netflix, if you look at the number per show, Netflix shows got more nominations per show.
Well, yeah, because Netflix only has like probably 4 or maybe 5 shows on it.
But each of their shows got like
original.
6 or 7 nominations. Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah, it's insane. Now, one of the HBO shows that got nominated for this, and this, I hope that this show wins. Silicon Valley is a new show on HBO. It was on right after Game of Thrones. I never would have watched it had I not been subscribed to HBO and seen the promos for it because I never even would have heard of it. Well, I don't know. I might have heard about it because since it went on the air, they did just like a quick 6 or 8 episode run. Since it went on the air, like it was being talked about by everybody because it is literally, when I explain it to people, I say it's like the Big Bang Theory, but a lot more geeky. And instead of being science geeks, they're code geeks, which for me is right up my alley.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of people that watch this show that aren't necessarily in my exact discipline that just absolutely love the show because the characters on the show are hilarious and they're so lovable. I mean, they're people that they seem like the kind of people that are like your friends and they give each other a hard time. And, they're so funny. And I really, really like that show. I'm glad that it was as successful as it was. And I'm really glad it got nominated because that means that there's no doubt at this point that it's going to get obviously picked up for a couple more seasons. So,
well, and I like that some of the non-standard channels shows are now getting recognition because some of them, like Breaking Bad, it took a long time for them to get recognition. Game of Thrones, it took them a long time to get recognition. So it's nice to see that, like, because this is the first season of Silicon Valley, right?
Yeah, and it was like a 6 or 8 episode run.
Yeah,
it wasn't
and
very
they're
many
already
episodes.
getting the recognition. So that's
they
awesome.
deserve it too. They really do. Like the people that are on this show, like there's only like maybe 1 person or 2 people on that show that you would really like recognize as like have seen them in other things, but for the most part they're all people that haven't been in anything. They definitely haven't been big in anything. So it's really cool to like see these people that are all really funny people, including the writers and the directors and the actors, all come together and make this show that is just, it's so enjoyable. And I can't wait for it to come back. And if you haven't had a chance to check out Silicon Valley yet, I would highly suggest you did because if any of you have ever seen the IT Crowd, it's like a blend of the IT Crowd and Big Bang Theory. It's an awesome, awesome show. So the next category is Best Actress in a Comedy Series. There's nobody on there that really jumps out to me. There's Lena Dunham from Girls, Eddie Falco from Nurse Jackie, Elaine Bennis, or what's her name? From Veep, Melissa McCarthy from Mike and Molly, Amy Poehler from Parks and Rec, and my pick for this category is Taylor Schilling from Orange is the New Black. Interesting that it's not that Taylor Schilling is funny. She's the funniest actress in a comedy series, but she is the best actress of all the comedy series, in my opinion. She's pretty good in Orange is the New Black.
My pick would probably be between her and Amy Poehler, because I just think Amy Poehler's hilarious in Parks and Rec.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting to see kind of how that plays out. But for my money, I think this next category, Best Actor in a Comedy Series, or sorry, this isn't the one. It's what am I looking for here? Best Actor in a Drama Series. I want to jump to that. This, for my money, is going to be a showdown, in my opinion, because
look at those names on that list. Yeah. Holy cow.
So nominated for Best Actor in a Drama Series is Jeff Daniels from The Newsroom, which he hasn't got a chance in this group. John Hamm in Mad Men, I don't think has a chance in this group either. Kevin Spacey, House of Cards, probably deserves the recognition, but I don't think has a chance in this crowd. But these other three guys, we've got both Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey from True Detective, another HBO show, drama that was on HBO. They are both incredible in that show. It was a miniseries. It was 8 episodes or 10, I think. That is like, we watched it in a day. Like, we watched almost all of it in one day, me and Sammy, because it was so awesome. Like, it's just such an interesting story. You had super thin, like, strung out Matthew McConaughey in it. They both play detectives in it. I mean, it was an awesome story. It was like, it almost had a kind of feel of it like that movie Seven with Brad Pitt had, but it was a miniseries version of it. It was really, really cool. It's like what I kept hoping Dexter would become. Yeah, was this, and then they're going up against Bryan Cranston for Breaking Bad.
Which let's face it, that last season of Breaking Bad, he was unbelievable.
That's the thing. I think that had True Detective been on last year or next year, it would probably have been McConaughey that won it. But not only are they going up against Cranston for Breaking Bad, but they're going up against Cranston for Breaking Bad's last season.
Yeah.
So I think, as far as the Emmys are concerned, you can't really snub Heisenberg at this point, because, like you said, Bryan Cranston in that last season was amazing.
He was so unbelievable. That list reads like more like an Oscar.
I couldn't believe it. Yeah,
than an Emmy.
When I saw that, I was like, "But we have got a showdown on our hands," because.
That's just proof,
any other year, I would say McConaughey by far and away deserves it.
Yeah.
But McConaughey was so good. I still can't say for sure that Cranston will beat him.
Yeah.
Like, it would not surprise me if it went one way or the other, because McConaughey was that good. And we all know how good Cranston was.
Do you think that's awesome, though? Like, that's such a testament to how much better TV is now, that like, all of these actors, a lot of these actors and actresses now are like big A-list movie star actors and actresses who are now like, no, I'm going to do TV because that's where the good work is.
Yeah, they're calling it the golden age of television right now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, because there's a lot there. I mean, of course there's crap, but there are so many good shows on TV.
Well, there are a lot of like big, 20 million, 30 million a movie stars that are like, yeah, I'm going to go do TV because that's where the good roles are.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think that's amazing, because they're not making the money that they would make in a movie.
Yeah. So but let's jump to Best Actor in a Comedy Series. Jim Parsons for The Big Bang Theory is nominated. I think he's been nominated like almost every year for a long time. He's won a couple times. Ricky Gervais, I thought, was interesting. He got nominated for Derek, which is a Netflix original.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be. I saw a couple episodes of it, and he's really, really funny and a really good actor in it, actually.
Really?
Matt LeBlanc is nominated for Episodes. Is that the guy from Friends?
Yeah, and that Episodes has been on for actually a few years. So
the dude from Friends got nominated.
It's a show where he plays himself, but it's it's like he plays Matt LeBlanc, but it's really just like the heightened version of Matt LeBlanc. It's not really Matt LeBlanc.
Yeah. So also Don Cheadle for House of Lies. William H. Macy is nominated for Shameless, and then what I think is interesting is Louis C.K. is nominated for Louis. Yeah. Now, he may not. I don't know. I haven't seen some of these shows that are in this particular category, But I would love to see Louis C.K. win one.
Yeah.
I don't know if he has one yet. I don't think he has, but
I don't know if he
I mean, you're talking about a guy that made a comedy that's based loosely on his actual life. Like, it's called Louis.
Yeah.
And it's kind of an exaggerated version of like who he is. I mean, I think it's good of him that he put it out there. He's obviously seen a lot of success with this show and a lot of his stand-up and stuff that he's been doing. But it would kind of feel like, to me, like one of the, the hometown guys winning one, even though obviously he's not from here. So that'd be cool to see him win it.
Yeah.
Supporting actor in a comedy series. Andre Braugher for Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Brower got nominated for Brooklyn Nine-Nine. And I've been watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine over the summer because when it was on in the fall, I wanted to watch it because I like Andy Samberg so much. But it was on like on a night when we had like so many shows recording that we just did not have room for it in the DVR. So I've been watching it over this summer, and Brooklyn Nine-Nine is a funny show.
Is it? I haven't watched it yet.
It is a really funny show. Like, in my opinion, it's kind of up there with like The Office. It feels kind of like The Office did when it first started, like that type of
that was
really
one that I wanted
show.
to watch when it started, and then I didn't. And by the time I realized it had already started, it was halfway through the season, and so
it's got to be dropping on Netflix any day now because I've been watching it completely out of order. And I don't know if this is a show that really has like a overall arc. It doesn't seem to me like it does. It may. I don't know. It doesn't feel like it to me. I've seen probably 7 or 8 episodes so far, but I've really liked it. Adam Driver, future Star Wars actor, is nominated for Girls. Jesse Tyler Ferguson is nominated for Modern Family, and actually Ty Burrell got nominated for Modern Family as well. That's another one of those rainy day shows that I haven't started yet. Modern Family is going to be. I just watched How I Met Your Mother all the way through, and that was kind of the list of like these are the comedies that I haven't watched yet that are on regular
Modern Family is
network
really
television.
funny.
I've heard the Modern Family is great. I'm going to probably get down to Modern Family here in the next couple of months.
I think you'll really like it. It really, really is a funny show.
Fred Armisen got nominated for Portlandia.
Now, that one to me is weird because he's like the main actor in Portlandia. So why is it supporting instead of?
I don't know. That is a good point. I'm not really sure. I haven't seen the show much, but I would dare say he's considered a lead actor.
It's him and Carrie. They're like the two main characters in the movie, and
maybe they're both considered supporting actors or something. I don't know.
Very interesting.
And then Tony Hell from Veep. So that's. I guess it's kind of. We'll see what happens with that or where it lies, but. Let's go to best drama series. This is another one I really wanted to talk about because again, these are shows. These are some of the best shows that are on TV. Like, these are honestly probably these 6 shows are probably like at least in the top 10. They might even be in the top 6 shows that are on TV.
Yeah, no kidding.
We've got Breaking Bad, of course, which. We'll talk about that in a sec. There's also Downton Abbey, Game of Thrones, House of Cards, Mad Men, True Detective. Yeah. You've got Mad Men's last season, Breaking Bad's last season, both nominated. You've got True Detective, which was absolutely an incredible show. House of Cards, Netflix original. I'd say House of Cards is probably a safe bet to say it's not going to win this one. But then you've got Downton Abbey, which has a huge following. And Game of Thrones, which obviously has a gigantic following.
Yeah. And it was a really intense season for Game of Thrones. So.
Do you think they can snub Breaking Bad out of this award?
I don't know. It's I really think it would be down between Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, and True Detective.
I think that because this is Breaking Bad's last season, that this will be given to Breaking Bad.
Yeah. The thing I worry about is because Breaking Bad happened so long ago.
Yeah.
Ended so long ago that it feels like.
The same thing could be said about True Detective, though, because this is the only.
That's true.
I've heard they're bringing back True Detective, but it's going to be like a whole different story and a whole different cast, like basically a whole new miniseries. So kind of like this shot of True Detective was like a one and done season of the show.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't see them not giving it to Breaking Bad just because. Think of the social impact Breaking Bad as a series.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they try and look at it as since the last time we did the Emmys, which of these shows was the absolute best. But if I was somebody voting on an Emmy, I wouldn't help but have to consider that if we snub Breaking Bad this year, there will be no other year where we can give them an
but the
award
same could
for
be
a show
said
that's
of
been
True Detective, really, because even though they're going to do it again, it won't be the same show. So
that's true. For that reason, I would say that Game of Thrones, even though this last season was incredible, is likely not to win. The same goes for Downton Abbey. Mad Men, I haven't been watching it. I watched like 3/4 of it, so I'm working through it. I don't find it all that. I find it an interesting enough show, but I don't find it like a great show.
It's not compelling enough to make you just binge watch.
No, not by any stretch. Well, you can't take that much Don Draper in one sitting anyway, because he's such a slime ball. But I would really like to see Breaking Bad take this. But this is another one. This is another category where it's like, well, it's pretty much anyone's dog in the fight here.
Yeah.
Do you see any other
supporting actor
about?
in a drama series? Aaron Paul, Peter Dinklage.
Oh yes. Let's talk about that. So, supporting actor in drama series, we've got Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad, Jim Carter from Downton Abbey, Peter Dinklage from Game of Thrones. He was awesome this last season.
He was so good.
Josh Charles, The Good Wife, Mandy Patinkin from Homeland, and John Voight from Ray Donovan.
You know who Mandy Patinkin is?
I don't.
He was Inigo Montoya.
Oh, so he's back. That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's great. I would like to see this go to Aaron Paul or Peter Dinklage.
I don't see how you couldn't give it to Peter Dinklage. Like, seriously,
because of that
season,
speech he gave in court, right?
Not only that, but just like his whole talking about, his cousin that was killing the bugs and the whole. I mean, just every episode that he was in was so intensely dramatic and emotional and just heart-wrenching.
Well, I know they have to submit like a clip to the people that vote, and the clip they submitted of Peter Dinklage was that one of him in the courtroom.
Oh, he just was.
And that was amazing. I don't know what scene they picked for Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad, but there's a handful of
really great
he had some gritty scenes, like that scene out in the desert when Heisenberg left him there to die.
Yeah,
it basically said he's under the car.
Yeah,
it's like this, and again, this might be another one of those things where Peter Dinklage maybe should win it, but I suspect Aaron Paul has won this award before for supporting actor. But I would not be surprised if at this award show that Breaking Bad wins for every single category that it's nominated for.
It's possible. I don't know. I just think Peter Dinklage, I don't know a single actor who can do as much with facial expressions as that guy can.
That's true.
And so
he's awesome. He is thoroughly I thoroughly enjoy Peter Dinklage in everything he's in.
And did y'all know that he's American?
Yeah.
He's from New Jersey.
Yep. He's one of the few guys that's in a European type show that's actually from the United States.
And all these years, in all the movies and stuff I've ever seen him in, I honestly always thought he was an English guy affecting an American accent. And instead, it's the other way around.
My first exposure to him was a movie he called Death at a Funeral. It was a little indie film he did.
He actually, did you know he did both the American and the English version?
Yeah, because I saw the American version, which was not even near as good as the English version, but I thought that was funny about it. I was like, oh, hey, look, it's that midget guy.
Then he was an elf, and then...
Yeah, X-Men. He was great in X-Men this last summer.
Yeah, he's so good.
Supporting actress is going to be... Now, this is one where I think it could go one way or the other. Supporting actress in a drama series, we've got Anna Gunn from Breaking Bad, Maggie Smith from Downton Abbey, Lena Headey from Game of Thrones, Christine Baranski from The Good Wife, which I think that's a safe bet to say that she will not win. Christina Hendricks from Mad Men, I don't think she'll win either. And Joanne Froggatt from, I don't even know if that's how you say the name, Downton Abbey. I don't watch Downton Abbey, but...
I would suspect if one of the Downton Abbey actresses were going to win, it would go to Maggie Smith just because she's a little more well-known. Yeah.
I do know who Maggie Smith is. Now, I think the interesting people that are nominated here is Anna Gunn for Breaking Bad. She was amazing in this last season.
She was so good.
I felt like she finally, instead of becoming that wife that we wish Heisenberg would just get rid of somehow, she actually became somebody that was interesting in the show.
Yeah.
And then also Lena Headey from Game of Thrones. I can't even look at her in anything she's been in before or since then as anything other than the Lannister. She is the Lannister in my opinion. When I saw her in, she was in the first 300 movie. And I go back and watch that movie now, and I'm just like, man, she's a Lannister. She's not she's supposed to kind of portray a good person.
And she was Sarah Connor in the Sarah Connor Chronicles, the TV series that was on.
Oh, I couldn't handle that.
You know what? She was fantastic.
I'll bet you she was great.
Fantastic, but she was super tough.
Go back and watch it.
I think you would see Lannister in her in that because she was like this super tough. She knew she had to prepare for this like horrible future. She was really good in that movie.
It's Cersei Lannister.
But I still...
She's crazy. She's going to kill everybody. She's going to kill me through the TV.
She's going to take us all out. Because she is seriously evil.
She is. Oh, man.
I'll bet you in real life she's probably like the nicest person
She
in the
is.
world.
I've seen her on stuff, and she is incredibly nice. That's what's so funny.
Yeah. But I sort of just think Anna Gunn for Breaking Bad, she was so good.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. That could go one way or the other. It'll be interesting to see. I'm certainly not going to be the person to go up against Cersei Lannister. Like that. I don't know if if they're going to be like, hey, we don't want to be beheaded or killed at our next wedding. We're just going to give it to her because we don't want to mess with the best. But let's talk about best miniseries or movie. American Horror Story Coven got nominated,
which was fantastic.
It was really good. Bonnie and Clyde, Fargo, Luther, Treme, and The White Queen got nominated.
The White Queen got nominated, huh?
Yeah, and it's really strange. Like I said, why didn't True Detective fall into this?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because I thought it was technically considered a miniseries. Maybe had they waited and not announced that they're going to bring it back,
but
they would have considered it a miniseries.
American Horror Story Coven. Because
that's true. It's the same thing. You're right. Yeah, that's a good point.
It's really that I would think would be more likely to be a series.
Yeah.
Than a miniseries.
Yeah, I don't know. This is kind of another one of those where I could see Fargo, I could see Luther, I could see American Horror Story. I mean, I could see this going. There's a lot of really good things that are nominated. I don't know.
Yeah, that could be a tough one.
And then of course from the best actor or actress miniseries or movie, Jessica Lange, and Sarah Paulson from American Horror Story are nominated. So of them, I mean, you got Helena Bonham Carter, Minnie Driver, Kristen Wiig, and Cicely Tyson that are also nominated. But I think it's going to go to one or the other.
And if you look at that list once again, that looks like more like an Oscar list.
It really does. Those are all like
than an Emmy list. I mean, they're all big actresses. And
I don't know.
Here they all are on TV.
And I think that's what's going to make the Emmys, to me, is always far more interesting than the Oscars, because it feels like the Oscars, they nominate movies just to try and get those actors to come to the Oscars. Like pretty much no matter what movie Brad Pitt has done, especially when he does one with Angelina Jolie, they're gonna nominate it just because they know that they'll both come.
Yeah.
When you're like, wow, this movie Mr. and Mrs. Smith doesn't belong anywhere near the Oscars. It wasn't a bad movie, but it's not an Oscar movie.
No.
Whereas this, I think, it's incredibly competitive.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know there's going to be upsets, but at the same hand, there's really nobody in this category that could win where you would go, oh, that show didn't deserve it.
Exactly.
Because these are all, like, even some of these shows I haven't seen, I know people that talk about them, that love them, like Downton Abbey, and I respect that. I mean, there's people that are crazy about Downton Abbey, like I am about Star Wars.
You've heard enough about it to know that it's...
I know that it's pronounced Downton Abbey, not downtown. Even though I'm like, what is Downton? What does that mean? Maybe if I watched the show, I'd know. I don't know.
English word, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. But, I mean, I think it's going to be a really, really exciting Emmys this year. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be...
Do they have it scheduled? Like, when is it? It's not for like a couple months, right? Like, I don't even see anywhere on this article where it's like, this is when they're doing it.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know if maybe they haven't scheduled it, because I know the nominations generally come out a little bit ahead of... You
would think, though, that they would have scheduled it, because how could they nominate if they didn't? I don't know. I don't know what the time frame is for when is it for all of 2013, or is it from like October to October? I don't know.
Oh, there we go. You Google and ask Google and you shall receive. It's August 25th, 2014. So it's still
another month.
It's still like over a month away. So obviously the nominations came out a couple weeks ago. So you're
going to be in Texas by then.
They still have the Emmys out there. I'll be watching it. Excuse me. I won't be watching it live. I'll be DVRing it so I can fast forward through the tons of commercials, the red carpet, and any of the categories. The categories I don't give a crap about. You can get through an award ceremonies are like 4-hour events usually.
Yeah.
More if you watch the red carpet. If you DVR those, man, you can burn through them.
Yeah.
And you can still hear all the great speeches. Like, I'm like, yeah, you can really burn through it if you just see who won online, but then you don't get to hear, like Matthew McConaughey when he won for that movie he did about
for
AIDS.
Dallas Buyers Club.
Dallas Buyers Club. Man.
Well, him and Jared Leto.
And it's funny, Jared Leto was the first, and I think he was one of the last. Jared Leto gave, honestly, one of the best speeches for that movie.
I think Jared Leto was the very first award, too.
He was the first award, and I was like, it's like, no wonder this guy is the lead singer and writer for 30 Seconds to Mars, a rock band, because this dude, like, that speech he gave was poetic.
Yeah, and it's like, nobody could top that.
Completely flattered his own mother. Yeah, like, just talked about how much she's loved him and supported him. I'm just like, wow, that, like, how are you going to follow that?
And then Matthew McConaughey
gets out up there and goes, in the words of Matthew McConaughey, all right, peace. And I was like, oh my gosh, he did the McConaughey. Like, McConaughey knows that he's like, he does the McConaughey.
He does the McConaughey.
Like, he's heard the impression. He's like, no, I got this, guys. I'm McConaughey. I will do the all right. I just thought, like, a lot of people found him like really like condescending that he did that, but I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah.
I was just like, that's why he's Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's been in some, like, and he did Dallas Buyers Club, and then he did True Detective, like, while he was still thin. So it's like this guy just, like, he was in, like, a lot of crap, like, not really, like, bad movies, but a lot of, like, kind of crappy movie of the weeks back in the day. But now he's doing stuff that's, like, he's getting nominated for Emmys and Oscars.
Yeah. That would be cool to see him win the Emmy, just so that in the same year he won the Oscar and the Emmy. Wouldn't that be awesome?
I think there was another award he won too, so it'll be like a hat trick.
Did he win like the Golden Globe or something?
I don't know what it was, or a Tony. Maybe he was on Broadway for a second. I don't know. I can't remember, but I seem to remember reading an article where they were like, if he wins an Emmy, he'll have done a hat trick this year or whatever.
Yeah,
so
that's
we'll
cool.
See.
Good. You like to see people like that are like actually decent people.
Yeah.
Who are out there doing good work.
Yeah.
Get recognized for it.
Well, I don't know if he's a decent person. I've heard he's a real douchebag in real life, but he's good as far as, like, I don't care what he's like in real life because I watch him as an actor on TV, and he makes some good movies and some good TV. So
yeah, that's how I feel about Tom Cruise. I can't stand the guy as a person, but he's a fantastic actor.
I love Tom Cruise.
Such a good actor.
Yeah, there's nothing that he's like, even the stuff he's in that nobody likes. I'm just like, man, I still love that because it's Tom Cruise.
Well, he's such a good actor. He's such a good actor.
He is, and I got hooked on like I was kind of neither here nor there about Tom Cruise until the movie Tropic Thunder. When he played like the fat agent guy, and like he was actually on the Nerdist podcast a couple of weeks ago, and it's like the first time he's done a podcast, and he did it with Chris Hardwick. Like it's the first time anyone's really ever talked to him for like an hour and a half or however long their show is about his entire career, and these are like total nerd dudes. Like these, I love the Nerdist because they ask the type of questions I would ask and things I would want to know.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know, he talks about when he played that role in Tropic Thunder, and he's like, I wanted to do it because it was really funny and it was really interesting, and I thought I could really bring something to the role. So he's like, so I went back to Ben Stiller, who directed and wrote it, and he said, I'll do the role, but I got to have fat hands and I got to dance. I got to dance in the movie. And those are the two things in the movie that I like the most about that character was like his little, like his first of all, he was completely like crazy ecstatic the whole movie, but he had these like huge, it was like you're watching, you're like, is that Tom Cruise in a fat suit?
I know, because he doesn't look like Tom Cruise, but he sounds like Tom
I didn't
Cruise.
even like realize it till halfway through the movie the first time I saw it. Sammy didn't even know it till the end of the movie. She saw it for the first time a couple weeks ago when we watched it again, and she was like, that was Tom Cruise?
I know.
And I was like, yeah. And in the credits, he's like doing his dancing. I'm just like, this guy who is not known for comedies is hilarious. Like, he's really funny.
That movie, I hadn't seen it for a couple of years, and I watched it last week, and I forgot how much I love Robert Downey Jr.
Oh my gosh. That was like the first, like, that was kind of like his return to the big screen. Like that and Iron Man kind of hit at the same time.
He was so funny, thinking he was this black guy. The black guy that was with him was like, what do you mean, you people? And the black guy's like, what do you mean?
What do you mean, you people? My favorite line that he does in that movie is, hey, I know who I am. I'm a dude disguised as a dude playing another dude. It's like he is.
And then he turns out to be like this totally pale white, blonde,
he's a white guy
blue-eyed.
dressed up as a black guy playing a person in a movie. Like, it's so funny.
That movie is so fun. And Ben Stiller, when they capture him and he has to do his role. Yeah. And they tell him, you should never go full on retard.
Never go full retard. And then he goes through the explanation of like Rain Man, and then he talks about I Am Sam, how he went he didn't win the Oscar because he went full retard.
And then
that's a hilarious comedy.
They make him replay his role. I can't remember what his character's name was.
Ben Stiller did it was so Jack.
Yes, Simple Jack.
Simple Jack. Oh my gosh. That is just a brilliant movie, and Ben Stiller's done a couple like really funny, awesome movies like that. I wish he'd do more of them.
Well, and I had forgotten that Barry, how do you say his name?
Barchanel.
Whatever his name is. How to Train Your Dragon guy.
This is the end guy.
Yeah. I had forgotten that he was in that movie.
Uh-huh.
And like I didn't really like recognize him, but as soon as he started talking, he has such a distinct voice.
Like, it's that guy.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my gosh, I forgot he was even in this.
Oh, man. All right, well, that's Geek Revolution Radio for this week. Thanks for listening. Like I said, you can follow us on the Facebooks, facebook.com/Geek Revolution Radio. If you see anything interesting or exciting that maybe didn't come across our radar, let us know. And if you disagree with our Emmy nominations, I know a lot of you are really passionate about this. Let us know what you think. Maybe you thought of something that I didn't. I always love to have kind of conversations about this kind of stuff, so hit us up. Mom, you have some books. Her name is author Cindy C. Bennett. You have some books on cindycbennett.com, correct?
Yep, and I just had a new release out a couple months ago.
What's the book?
It's called The End of Feeling.
What's it about?
It's about a guy who was raised in an abusive home, and he doesn't feel anything for anybody anymore, and about a girl who's raised by a mom who is mentally retarded, and kind of they're coming together.
Huh. Cool.
So.
Well, you can check that out. If you want to buy our books, obviously you can get them on Amazon.com too. Through the Kindle, you can get the digital version, which I've been doing recently. I recently started reading a digital book, and I have found that I hate reading, and I never do it. But I will actually sit and read through a novel if I can do it here and there on my phone, and I don't have to actually trudge around a hard book.
Well, and it's great because like if you're in line somewhere and you're just waiting, or you have to ride the tracks up to school or something like that, you can just pop it open and
it's easy enough. So check out that. You can get all of our books on Amazon, or you can go to cindycbennett.com. Yep. And until next week, I'm Ryan. Live long and prosper, and may the force be with you always. Seriously, geekrevolutionradio.com.